Hello, Bayit community. I want to share with you some Torah that is inspired by an interfaith conference I was just at this past week. So I was at an Abrahamic interfaith conference, which means that Jews, Christians, and Muslims who all have Avram Avinu as a patriarch got together to share a bit about their respective faith traditions and also their faith texts. And I was really excited when some of the Muslim participants shared a prayer in the Quran that I had never heard of before called Musa's prayer. Musa is the Arabic term for Moses, and in this prayer, Moses asks for his tongue to be untied in order to share God's mission with Pharaoh. And so he says it along the way. And I thought that was really exciting because it felt super parallel to our Parsha. So this week's Parsha is Parshat Shemot, the beginning of the Exodus story, and the Israelites are enslaved. Moshe is born, he goes to Midian, and then encounters God at age 80 at the Sneh Boer, the burning bush. And the Midrash explains that God had to approach Moshe 7 times because he really did not want to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. He did not feel like he was the right person for that. And then an excuse that's written in the Psukim that got me excited after hearing this Musa's prayer is the following. Moshe says, Ki chavad peh uchavad lashon anochi. I am someone with heavy mouth and heavy tongue, so I therefore cannot lead. There's a lot of interesting questions about what this actually means. We understand it on a literal sense, but what's really going on? The Rashbam explains that it's a language issue. Moshe used to know Egyptian when he was young and living in the Egyptian palace, and now he's forgotten it. So how is he supposed to be an interlocutor with Paro? Ibn Ezra explains that it's a bit of a grammar or a language pronunciation issue that he's like kind of embarrassed or nervous to share. But I think we often talk about it colloquially as a kind of speech impediment. The Ramban, however, explains that this should not be the barrier that stops Moshe from sharing his mission with the world. He says that Moshe could have prayed away his speech impediment, but didn't. And God says that's exactly the point. That should not be the barrier that stops you from sharing. It seems that there's other things that are holding you back, but I'll be there to help you. I will be your peh. I will be your mouth, and I will be there to help you figure out what to say. And I really appreciate that Ramban because it acknowledges both the physical aspect, but really that what is stopping Moshe is a psychological issue, that he doesn't think that he's ready or that he has the right things to share. And then going back to Musa's prayer, what was really exciting to me when I heard these Muslims share it with us for the first time is that they share it before they give a big speech or they teach a class. They say this prayer to themselves, that it's not about the physical tongue-tying of Moshe, that he wasn't able to speak so well in a physical sense, but the sense of trepidation to share, and that they say this prayer when they want to share an important message with the world. They use this as a way to orient themselves, which I thought was really inspiring, and that they see Moshe as a representative of that. It almost reminded me of the way we start our Amidah, of Hashem tzvatai tiftach, ufi yagid tilatecha, that God may God open our mouth and say the wondrous things about God in the world. What this seems to be saying is that this isn't a physical issue of not being able to share in a physical sense for our mouths not to be open, but that there's a real sense of intimidation and fear when being on mission to share important things in the world, and that for Muslims, they see Moses as an important exemplar of having that fear and then having God on his side in order to share. And we even have, in both our own tradition, thinking about the Amidah, and also that we have our pasuk from this week's Parsha show us that we too may have that trepidation, but ultimately we should be empowered to share beautiful messages with others, even when we feel a little bit scared. And it was really nice to find that similarity between me and my Muslim brothers and sisters this past week. And who knew that it would inspire interesting Torah? So I wanted to share that with you. And Shabbat Shalom. May we all feel empowered to open up our heavy mouths and heavy tongues to share important messages with the world.